Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful. All praise be to Allah, the Lord of the heavens and the earth, and peace and blessings be upon our beloved messenger, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Dear brothers and sisters, I'm your host, Hatim al-Absalam. I salute you all with the salutation of the people of paradise. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to our program, Knowing Your Religion. Please join in welcoming my distinguished and honorable guest, Sheikh Kahlan bin Nabhan al-Kharusi, the Assistant Grand Mufti of the Sultanate of Oman. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah, Brother Hatim, and I would like as well to welcome all our audience. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. May Allah the Almighty guide us all to the right path, shower our lives with His mercy, and enrich our knowledge in His religion.
Sheikh, thank you for joining us again on the show and sparing your valuable time and knowledge to benefit our listeners. And today we have another list of questions, and inshallah we will try and meet the expectations of our listeners.
Thank you very much indeed, Brother Hatim, and it gives me a great pleasure to be with you in this effort in which we are trying our best to meet the concerns and answer the questions of our audience.
Sheikh, the first question is about a special prayer that Muslims perform to request Almighty Allah to send down rain. It is called in the Arabic language Salat al-Istisqa. There is an understanding among Muslims that while praying this prayer, you have to reveal your shoulders. So maybe you can take us through and tell us how this prayer is prayed and how what are the things that should be done and things which people should try not to avoid during this particular prayer.
Right. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. All praise be to Allah, peace and blessings be upon His last messenger. This particular prayer, which is known as Istisqa prayer, which, as you rightly put it, Brother Hatim, is a special prayer which Muslims are performing whenever they want to ask Allah the Almighty to shower them with rains. When there is dry seasons, no rain, drought, so Muslims are urged to make this particular prayer, followed by a special supplication. And the name of the prayer is actually derived from the Arabic root which indicate the meaning of having rain or asking for rain. So the name of the prayer itself is derived from the supplication, the special supplication Muslims are chanting after performing 2 rak'ah of the Istisqa prayer. Afterwards, there is a sermon, a speech delivered by the leader of the prayer, reminding Muslims of the hereafter, reminding them of the importance of asking Allah for forgiving their sins and repenting to Allah alone, reminding them of their religious duties, of their worldly duties as well, and ending the sermon by a supplication in which, and it is the essential part of the supplication, that all the attendants are asked to repent to Allah the Almighty and to ask for His forgiveness out of their hearts. So they have to be sincere. They must be truthful before Allah the Almighty, because He is the one who knows everything and who's in His hand to shower them with His mercy and shower them with His with rain and respond to their calls and supplications. Now, during this, when the Imam, the leader of the prayer, shifts the sermon from words and sentences of remembering Allah the Almighty and advising and reminding Muslims of the Day of Judgment, their responsibilities, their duties in this life, and makes the shift to do the supplication, to do the dua, then as an indication that the circumstances are going to change, and Allah the Almighty is going to fulfill, to respond and answer their prayers, they are asked not to reveal their shoulders, but to change the place of their gowns, or whatever part of their clothing that they are wearing, or to put it upside down, or to turn it over on their shoulders. This is proven or taken from the action of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, because this is what he did. He turned over his shirt and he moved his turban from one side to another, and it, as I said, it is a mark or sign that Muslims are positive and optimistic that the climate is going to change and Allah the Almighty is going to fulfill their supplication. So this is what is proven and what is narrated in the prophetic tradition, and we have to adhere to this tradition. So as I said, it is not to reveal one's shoulder, but to do any of the signs that I already explained, which is either to turn over part of the clothing, like the turban, or to move it from one side to another, from one shoulder to another, or if there is a gown worn by the people, then they are asked also either to turn it over or to move it from one shoulder to the other, as an indication, a sign, as I said, of expecting Allah the Almighty and having trust that He, the Almighty, is going to respond to their call. I'll take the chance and add some of the traditions that are attached to the performance of the istisqa prayer. Not only the people who are going to pray, and I mean adults, are requested to attend, but even kids and children, also the elderly, they are also highly recommended that they should attend the prayer. Livestock, animals, should be also brought to the place where the prayer is going to take place, because adults and Muslims are asking Allah the Almighty to have mercy on them. They are requesting Him to be merciful, to be compassionate, and that's why they are showing Him their necessity, and that they are in need, in real need of having mercy. If it is not because of them, because they are sinful, so at least because those kids, those elderly, because of animal, because of the environment, because of livestock in their life. So they are making all the reasons and bringing all the factors that would enable them to have mercy from Allah the Almighty, and He is, of course, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Allah Ta'ala knows.
Inna lillah, inna lillah, inna ilayhi raji'un. 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 Inna lillah, inna lillah, inna ilayhi راجعون إنا لله إنا لله إنا إليه 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 راجعون.
If you have any questions for the show, send your email at k.r@oman-radio.gov.om at k.r@oman-radio.gov.om, knowing your religion, or send SMS to 90406. Don't forget to indicate k.r before sending your questions. And for your comments and suggestions, check out our Facebook, Knowing Your Religion.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. The next question says, a group of travelers wanted to pray at the time of Al-Asr. The Imam had prayed Al-Dhuhr earlier, and he thought the followers had prayed it as well. After completing the prayer of Al-Asr, the group did Iqamah for Al-Asr, and the Imam repeated the Asr prayer by leading them in the congregation. Is this the right way to do it?
So they have prayed
Al-Asr. He has prayed Al-Asr twice, but they prayed Al-Dhuhr and Al-Asr.
But he already prayed Dhuhr prayer.
Earlier.
So this means that the timing is the Asr timing.
Asr timings.
So in this case, what he has done is not correct. He shouldn't have led the prayer because he already has performed Al-Asr prayer at the first performance.
Yes.
He was the leader of the prayer.
Yes.
And his intention was to perform Al-Asr. So what he did is right. He shouldn't have repeated the performance of Al-Asr. But for them, what they did is also correct. But it is correct, because they thought that the Imam, the leader of the prayer, was performing the same prayer that they are performing. And they haven't discovered that he was performing the Al-Asr prayer rather than Al-Dhuhr prayer at the beginning, at the first performance. If they have discovered and the time is still the Asr time, then in this case they should have redone both of the prayers, because for the first prayer the leader, their Imam, was performing Al-Asr prayer while they were performing Al-Dhuhr prayer, and then the same Imam repeated Al-Asr prayer leading them while he shouldn't have done so. So they are highly advised to redo that particular prayer. But for Al-Imam, he shouldn't have done so, but he is not asked to redo any prayer because he has performed Al-Asr prayer. Now this is the opinion which I feel comfortable with, although there are other opinions, particularly with the group of scholars who claim that it is alright for an Imam who is performing a voluntary prayer, not an obligatory prayer, to lead the prayer, even if the people following him are performing an obligatory prayer. But being an Imam while performing voluntarily prayer, according to this group of scholars, is also acceptable. So in this case, they are not asked to redo the prayer, according to this opinion. But as I said, the opinion which I feel more comfortable with, and I feel that it is more supported with evidence, is that they should redo the prayer. Unless they haven't discovered until except later after the timing of that particular prayer. So in this case they are excused and they are not asked to make qada for that particular prayer. Allah Ta'ala knows best.
Thank you, Sheikh.
حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل 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 حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل.
If you have any questions for the show, send your email at k.r@oman-radio.gov.om at k.r@oman-radio.gov.om knowing your religion, or send SMS to 90406. Don't forget to indicate k.r before sending your questions. And for your comments and suggestions, check out our Facebook, Knowing Your Religion.
The next question says, is it true that wearing socks during prayer invalidates the prayer?
No, it's not true. Probably the questioner is asking about wearing them before making the ablution, the wudu. So if this is the case, then yes, the rub-up over the shoes, but not over the socks, with the opinion adopted by majority of Sunni schools of thought. For Ibadis, they accept the opinion that there should be no rub-up over the shoes, but washing the feet should be done while performing the wudu. So if the question is about wearing socks before performing the ablution, then in this case, yes, this invalidates their prayer. But if it is after making the wudu, there is no harm at all. I mean, during winter, as an example, there is no harm on wearing socks. If the question is about wearing socks during the performance of Hajj or Umrah, then it is totally different. But it doesn't invalidate the prayer, although it is something which is forbidden to be done for both, for men, while performing Umrah or Hajj.
I think, Sheikh, the questioner here is indicating that there is a part of the foot that has to be exposed during the prayer. And when you wear the socks, that part is covered. I think it's the ankle. So that's why they are asking whether it is invalidate.
No, it has nothing to do with that. But it could be that the question is from a Muslim lady. And the question here is it should be other way around. And we have explained this over and over throughout our program. But there is no harm on repeating that. Yes, women are asked to cover their feet while performing the prayer. But this is not necessarily done by wearing socks. It can be by the long tail dresses or by any other means. What is needed is to cover the feet. Some scholars say that the apparent part of the feet, other scholars say even the downside of the feet. But the question doesn't indicate this case, and if it is talking about women, then it should be other way around, because no scholar has said that wearing socks is for women during while performing the prayer might invalidate her prayer. So in all cases, this does not invalidate, and it doesn't harm the prayer, one's prayer, and it is groundless. If somebody claims that this is to be true, it is groundless. It has no evidence, it has no proof at all. Actually, the actions and the performance of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions is totally on the contrary of such a claim. Allah Ta'ala knows best.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh.
استغفر الله ونتوب إليك استغفر الله ونتوب إليك نستغفر 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 الله ونتوب إليك استغفر الله ونتوب إليك.
If you have any questions for the show, send your email at k.r@oman-radio.gov.om at k.r@oman-radio.gov.om, knowing your religion, or send SMS to 90406. Don't forget to indicate k.r before sending your questions. And for your comments and suggestions, check out our Facebook, Knowing Your Religion.
The next question says, how do Muslim women dispose of unwanted hair that falls off from their heads while combing their hair?
Well, there isn't any particular Islamic way of disposing this hair. They can throw it into the dustbin, into the rubbish, and what they might find in some Islamic literature or Islamic law is no more than recommendation. I would think that it is just part of respect of human being, and whatever parts that might be removed from the body should be treated differently than any other disposal items. If they found that it is ascribed to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he has been burying the trimmed nails, then these narrations are weak and non-authentic. So I have to put it very explicit that these narrations are not authentic. They are weak traditions. Some of them are fabricated. But this doesn't mean that to do so is not allowed. As I said, it can be done, but without thinking that it is a part of Islamic ruling or Islamic behavior or something that is Islamically recommended. It could be out of just, as I said, respect of human being or respect of others as well, not to show them. And this is part of Islamic behavior, not to embarrass others. And this is something that unfortunately many Muslims nowadays are not taking care of. They should also remember always that even if the act is allowed, but it doesn't mean that they should do it in front of others. Like the examples mentioned here, trimming the nails or cutting the unwanted hair, or shaving the unwanted hair, or even brushing one's teeth with the teeth stick. This doesn't mean, yes, they are recommended, but this doesn't mean to do this in front of people, particularly if they are unfamiliar with such doings and they do consider it as part of the private behavior that one should do it privately. So this should be put under consideration, and we should recognize such behavior, or we should also, as I said, recognize or remember always that people might have different cultures, and they might assume such actions, such doings unacceptable, or they would think that they are urged or recommended in Islam while they are not. As I said, so let's return back to the main point, that for the disposed hair and nails, they can be just disposed as any other rubbish or unwanted items are disposed. Allah Ta'ala knows best.
Jazakumullah khair, Sheikh.
And proclaim the pilgrimage among men. They will come to thee on foot and mounted on every camel, lean on account of journeys through deep and distant mountain highways.
If you have any questions for the show, send your email at k.r@oman-radio.gov.om, at k.r@oman-radio.gov.om, knowing your religion, or send SMS to 90406. Don't forget to indicate k.r before sending your questions. And for your comments and suggestions, check out our Facebook, Knowing Your Religion.
The next question says, if the ablution of the Imam in a congregational prayer is invalidated, and the sutra, who is the second man in command to lead the prayer, says Allahu Akbar and continues where the last Imam had stopped, is this the right way to do it?
It depends on the place, because I don't know why he should say Allahu Akbar. If they have already entered the prayer, so probably they have already chanted the takbir, and let's assume that the leader, the Imam, invalidated his ablution. So in this case, the sutra, who is the one standing exactly behind him, should take the lead. But he is not asked to chant the takbir again, because he has already entered the prayer and he has already chanted the takbir when he was led with the other people performing the prayer by the Imam. All what he is asked to do is to carry on from the place where the Imam has stopped. If let's assume that the Imam stops at Al-Fatiha, then he should continue from Al-Fatiha. If it is at a particular place in Al-Fatiha, a particular verse in Al-Fatiha, then he should carry on from that particular verse. if it is the surah after Al-Fatiha, then he should recite verses from the Holy Quran after Al-Fatiha, or a surah, short surah, long surah, and so on and so forth. So if it is the ruku', then he should perform the ruku'. He's not asked, unless the question is about the takbir of a ruku' as an example, then this is right. What he has done is right, providing that he will, whenever it is possible, to make a move and be in the front of the line, then as you put it, the second man in command in leading the prayer should do this move. But if it is impossible, like if they are in the status of prostrating, so it is impossible for him to move, then in this case he will continue in that particular position, and then when it is possible, he can distinguish himself from the rest of the line, even by a few feet, until it is possible for him to be in the place where the Imam should stand. If not, if it is, as I said, in the position of prostrating or sitting down, then he should just for a few centimeters or few feet make a move a bit to distinguish him from the rest of the line, and carry on leading the prayer from the place, from the position where the Imam has stopped. Allah Ta'ala knows best.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh.
Inna lillah, inna lillah, inna ilayhi raji'un. 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 Inna lillah, inna lillah, inna ilayhi raji'un.
If you have any questions for the show, send your email at k.r@oman-radio.gov.om, at k.r@oman-radio.gov.om, knowing your religion, or send SMS to 90406 Don't forget to indicate k.r before sending your questions. And for your comments and suggestions, check out our Facebook, Knowing Your Religion.
The next question says, some Muslims in poor countries are living a difficult time, and finding jobs can be very challenging, especially if they are the minority. Is it permissible for Muslims to work in special farms for raising pigs?
The answer is no. They are not allowed, because Muslims are not allowed to take care of pigs. And I do understand the circumstances that you have already mentioned, Brother Hatim. They are minorities, they are in poverty, and it is very much difficult for them to find a relevant and proper job. But this doesn't mean that they would be allowed, or they can be allowed to work in such a job of taking care of pigs. if this is going to be allowed, then we are going to find an endless list of jobs related to works that are not allowed for Muslims, like wine factory or alcohol factories as an example. Yes, they are not going to drink alcohol, they are not going to drink wine according to their claim, but they might think that it is allowed for them to work in such a factory, but it is not. It's exactly the same. The same thing is also true when it comes to interest. Any institution that is associated with interest, like banks, commercial banks, conventional banks, this again is exactly the same. Muslims are not allowed to work in such jobs. So the answer is that they are definitely tested, but they should be patient. They should always associate their hearts, their intentions to Allah the Almighty, and they must be certain that Allah the Almighty is testing them in this life. If they are patient, if they leave such and abandon such unlawful jobs, then let them be sure that it is going to be with the help of Allah the Almighty easy for them to find an alternative that is better, not necessarily better in the income and salary, but better in the sense of compliant to Islamic law. Allah Ta'ala knows best.
If you have any questions for the show, send your email at k.r@oman-radio.gov.om at k.r@oman-radio.gov.om, knowing your religion, or send SMS to 90406. Don't forget to indicate k.r before sending your questions. And for your comments and suggestions, check out our Facebook, Knowing Your Religion.
The next question says, there are many verses in the Quran describing the life in heaven and in hellfire by using two phrases, Khalidi Nafiha, and the other phrase mentions Khalidi Nafiha abada. Both mean eternity. Is there a difference between the two phrases?
Well, it is a very good question, Brother Hatim, but let me first say that both phrases are used for the two categories of people in the hereafter: those who are rewarded in paradise, in heaven, and those who are punished or accounted for their bad deeds during their life in hellfire. So both descriptions have been used in the Holy Quran describing the two categories. I'll give some examples. Allah the Almighty had said in the Holy Quran about those who are in paradise. He says, يُبَشِّرُهُمْ رَبُّهُمْ بِرَحْمَةٍ مِّنْهُ وَرِضْوَانٍ وَجَنَّاتٍ لَهُمْ فِيهَا نَعِيمٌ مُقِيمٌ خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا أَبَدًا إِنَّ اللَّهَ عِنْدَهُ أَجْرٌ عَظِيمٌ. Allah the Almighty says, therein they shall abide forever. Surely with Allah a mighty reward awaits them. So here the translation is that they are going to be rewarded forever. They are going to be in heaven, in paradise, eternally, forever. And it is a description for those who are righteous, who have been observing Allah's commandments. In another verse, in which Allah the Almighty is talking about the disbelievers and those who have committed sins without repentance in this life, those who are sinful, then Allah the Almighty again has used a similar description. He says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَعَنَ الْكَافِرِينَ وَأَعَدَّ لَهُمْ سَعِيرًا خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا أَبَدًا لَا يَجِدُونَ وَلِيًّا وَلَا نَصِيرًا. He says, Allah has cursed the unbelievers and the grateful, and has prepared for them a blazing fire. And then the following verse says, on that day when their faces shall be turned around in the fire, they will say, would that we had obeyed Allah and obeyed the Messenger. Before that, Allah the Almighty says, Khalidi Nafiha abada, therein they shall abide forever. It's exactly the same description used with the people of paradise is also used for the people in hellfire, for the people who are going to enter the fire of the hereafter. They shall find none to protect or help them, as Allah the Almighty has said. And there are other places. So the first fact that we should get out of the use of the phrase Khalidina fiha abada is that in the Holy Quran this description has been used for both categories, those who are rewarded and those who are punished, those who are in paradise and those who are in hellfire, those who have pleased Allah the Almighty and He is pleased with them and He is satisfied with what they have done, and accordingly they are going to be rewarded, and those who have displeased Him and He is not satisfied with them and they deserve to be punished in hellfire. So this description has been used for both of them. So the question here is, why is it that it wasn't sufficient to say Khalidina fiha without saying abada? The second fact, while we are explaining this point, is that also in the Holy Quran we find that it's not always that Allah the Almighty is using the phrase or the word abada, but in many occasions we find that it is only Khalidina fiha, and again for both, for the people of paradise and for those who are punished in hellfire. This description is also used, Khalidina fiha, without saying abada. So it is not always used in the Holy Quran that we find the use of abada when talking about the reward or the punishment in the life to come, which raises the question of why is the use of the word abada, because Khalidin means forever, means eternity. The right forward answer is that abada is another confirmation, reconfirmation. It is to ascertain the meaning that is already mentioned, and this is very frequent in the Holy Quran by different words, different styles, different patterns, that we find reconfirmation of a fact that is already mentioned. So when, and of course, it is to abandon any other misinterpretation of the verse revealed in the Holy Quran. It is also to add more weight to the meaning intended in that particular part of the verse. It is also, as I said, to remind the audience, in this case all the addressees, of the importance of this fact, because when they hear that this reward or this punishment is eternal forever, they pay more attention, and this is what is intended. Allah the Almighty is warning the people, is threatening them, as He is also promising them. So for both, for the threat and for the promise, whenever this word, this confirmation or reconfirmation is used, so the listener or the reciter is going to pay more attention. So it is, in this case, the added meaning to the original meaning is the reconfirmation. It is the ascertaining of the meaning of the fact mentioned. It is to attract the attention of the listener or the addressees. It is also to emphasize the fact that is already mentioned. And as I said, there are other styles that are very common in the Holy Quran, where we find such reconfirmation or ascertaining a fact that is mentioned, or sometimes a story that is mentioned, or a ruling that is revealed in the Holy Quran.
Thank you very much, Sheikh Kahlan bin Nabhan Al-Kharusi, for your time and knowledge, and I hope our listeners have benefited from today's session. See you all next week, inshaAllah. From me, Hatim Al-Absalam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.